Hello. I'm back. I'm back on the real estate series thing. So this one I thought would focus on like what the actual rent by the room house looks like. I don't have a video, but I do have still shots. These are actually the pictures I used to like list it. My name's Michelle. I always forget to like introduce myself. My name is Michelle. I'm 50 and I am trying to retire early from teaching and become a full-time landlord, in particular in the affordable housing space. So right now I have 3 properties. One is a rent by the room house. It's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath. For the last, I would say 15, 16 years, it was Section 8. And then in this last year, I switched it over to rent by the room. And then I recently bought a duplex in September. And once that's up and running, then both of those units will be Section 8. So if you stay till the end, you'll get to hear a couple stories about my rent by the room experience. So if you see me looking down, it's because I had to write down like the order of the rooms so that when I plug the pictures in, they'll match. And you see I turned the camera a little bit so that way my buddy can be in it. So that means hopefully he'll stay over there and not come over here and try to get in the picture or getting in my lap, but we'll see. So first, it's a 3-bedroom, 1 bath house, and it's located in a low income neighborhood, which suits itself for Section 8 and things like that. The drawback though is that because it's not in the best neighborhood, you have to keep the rent, somewhat reasonable. So sometimes when you hear people talking about rent by the room and they're like, oh, I can make so much more by renting out the rooms individually and opposed to renting out the whole house, that's not been my experience. I actually would make way more profit if I went back to Section 8. But for now, I'm going to keep it at rent by the room just because since I'm working as a part-time teacher, so if you've seen some of my other videos, you can kind of see a little bit more about my background. But because I'm working as a part-time teacher, I just couldn't have all my money connected to one person. So at least this way, I'm able to kind of guarantee that I'll at least have enough to cover like the basic expenses connected to the house. Primarily the mortgage on that house is like $350. And so at least I know as long as one of the rooms is rented, I can at least cover the mortgage. So the first room that I'm going to highlight is the living room. When I was doing my research on rent by the room, one of the things that kept coming up over and over was you want to try to keep down the conflict among the tenants. And because you are throwing, random people together, you want to try to be a forward thinker and think, okay, well, what if a bunch of strangers, 3 people were living together who had never met? What would be some points of contention? One, of course, would be company and socializing and things like that. So what I feel like I'm sitting so close. Sorry, y'all. Yeah, you can tell I'm a Game of Thrones fan. I got this shirt at the Goodwill for $1, but sorry, I got distracted. So anyway, what I decided for the living room is that I would not put any furniture in there because I felt like if I didn't have furniture in there, then we wouldn't have to worry about, someone saying, hey, someone had company in the living room. They were, loud and I was trying to sleep or I was trying to work or whatever it is. So there's no furniture in the living room. As you can see, I did try to decorate the mantle a little bit with some inspirational quotes. I also started off by putting, those like washer beads or dryer beads that like make your clothes smell good. I use those as an air freshener. So on top of the mantle, you can see that there's like a glass and it has like those turquoise balls in it. So I started off with that. That hasn't been continued. I also did put up drapery at the windows, and then all the doors have digital locks. However, the bedroom door locks kind of went bad, I want to say 8 months in, and so now the tenants are just using the key. I did try to troubleshoot though when I was just using digital locks because I'm an out-of-town investor and I tried to think of every possible thing that could go wrong. And what I did was I had someone install a lockbox on the front porch. So that way, if at any time those locks stop working, as far as the digital ones, there would be an extra set of keys. So that was very helpful because 2 of the locks stopped working at the same time. So the tenants could have the key. What I then did was I got additional keys made and I just mailed them up there to my assistant, and she put them in the lockbox so that, you know, if there's an emergency or if like some repair people need to get in the house or get into a particular room and the tenant's not home, they could do that too. So from the living room goes into the dining room. As you can see, the dining room has a very basic table. One side is a bench, the other side has 2 chairs. Aesthetically, this looks very nice, but if you sit on it, it's not very comfortable. And that was done intentionally also because, again, I really wanted to keep down any sort of kind of community gatherings in those common areas. So with that idea is, it's definitely, you could sit there and maybe eat your breakfast or eat a meal, but you wouldn't want to be sitting on there for very long because it's not very comfortable. And behind the table, it just worked out that there's like these 3 little cabinets. So I used those little mailbox stickers and I labeled each one, you know, 1, 2, and 3. That way it could serve as like each person's like pantry, so to speak. And the cool part about that is that then when people move out, you know, kind of whose stuff you can kind of get rid of, because, you know, if someone has moved out of room 2 and there's still stuff in that area that says room 2, then you can kind of throw it away. And also in the dining room is like the box for the alarm system. My front door is connected to Simply Safe, or technically ADT. No, it's not sponsored, but I must say the lock is very basic, but it's worked. I haven't had any issues. I'm able to program codes out of state. It's been perfect. I have someone go over about every 3 months just to change the batteries in there, because since that lock is very basic, it doesn't send you like notifications when the batteries get low, but it's just a touchpad and I haven't had any issues with it. It's a deadbolt. So that's what we use for the front door. And it was connected to the alarm system because while I was setting up the rent by the room, because the neighborhood is, you know, a little shaky, I just wanted to feel like the house was secure. And, you know, God forbid, knock on wood, if someone had gone in, then, you know, I would have gotten an alert. But thank God that didn't happen. So from the dining room is the kitchen. I supplied the refrigerator and stove because if you've seen some of my other videos, you know I am a word girl, not a math person. Technically, the refrigerator really could have been bigger. But unfortunately, when that got delivered, I wasn't there. I had someone helping me and they were there for the arrival of the furniture and the appliances. The appliances I got from Home Depot, and then the all the furniture I got from Wayfair. Of course, this is not sponsored by either of those groups, but they had good prices and I really liked it. So again, the refrigerator really isn't big enough for 3 people, but I think they make it work. I did label each shelf with a number, so then each person could kind of have their own thing. The freezer, you know, if I had 3 people who really love to cook, it definitely would be a little tight. But so far it's worked out. There are cabinets there, and to be quite honest, I don't know how the tenants have kind of organized those, because it wasn't as clear cut as just putting stickers on each one. So I don't know how they've divided that up, but I guess it's worked out. And then there's a back porch right off the kitchen, and of course there's no furniture out there because that back porch is under 2 of the bedrooms. And so of course, to keep down confusion, keep down entertaining, there's nothing out there. But I'm assuming that one of the tenants is a smoker. It's in the lease that this is a smoke-free house. But because, you know, the front door is connected to the ADT alarm, I get notifications that that back door is open here and there. And I can only assume that the only reason people would be opening it is to go smoke, because there's no furniture or anything out there. So that's like the first floor. There's a basement, which you can, I told the tenants that I could kind of serve as free storage. However, within the next few months, I'm actually going to finish the basement and then rent that out, probably more so as like a studio apartment. So I probably will not be providing like any furniture or appliances. It just kind of depends. But it's pretty cool because that basement has its own like side and back entrance. So whoever I rent that out to, like, they wouldn't have any interaction with the people upstairs, and they really would have like their own designated space. And it's a pretty decent size. It's actually big enough that I could convert it into like a 2-bedroom. But because I'm still, you know, learning about the zoning requirements and stuff, I don't really want to turn it into a boarding house. I would actually rather have it reclassified as a multi-unit or a duplex. So I'm kind of researching that too. So from the basement, so you come in, there's the front porch. Of course, there's nothing on the front porch because then I don't want to encourage congregating. So there's nothing on the front porch. Then from the main floor, you can go upstairs, and it's just one set of stairs. There's no attic. And well, there's kind of like an attic crawl through, I guess, through one of the bedrooms, but there's 3 bedrooms up there with 1 bathroom. So the first one is, you can see in this picture, you can't really see how big the room is, but it's actually a really nice size room. And I provided a bed frame, a full size bed, and a 3-drawer organizer with a power strip and a little lamp that actually you could plug your phone and charge in. So that's what I supply, and then the curtains for the windows. And then the tenants are responsible for anything else. So, if you need tables or hangers or linens, all that kind of stuff, they supply. I did provide the first round of toilet paper, but then after that, I didn't do that. So honestly, I don't know how they're doing that. I don't know if it's kind of like dorm style. I remember when I was in college, we had those little totes and you kind of carted your stuff with you. So I don't know, maybe they have those little things. No idea. And so the bigger room right now is renting for $550. I originally had it listed at $7. And I found that it was really, really hard to keep that room rented. So I dropped it to $550. And I found that I'm getting way more people interested. And actually my current tenant, she'll be there. I'm filming this at the end of November in 2024. Her lease expires, I think it's like July or August of next year. And if you watched one of my other videos about rent by the room, then you see how I do my leases and how it's kind of a gradual thing. So that's why it's not a complete year. And then from that main bedroom, the room right beside it is the bathroom. And you can see it's a really tiny little bathroom. It's so cute, but it's a tiny little bathroom. And I supplied the shower curtain, which is just plastic. I have a bath mat in there inside the tub. And I also have a bath mat outside the tub because I felt like I knew that I would provide a cleaner, and I don't have a washer and dryer at the house. So I didn't want like a rug, because I'm like, okay, well, who's going to wash that? Whereas if you just do the plastic mat, that's a lot easier. When the cleaner comes, she can just clean that. So there's the bathroom. And then from there, it's the 2 bedrooms. They're kind of tiny, and their layout, they're pretty similar. So that was the reason why I had to get a full size bed, because the queen size wouldn't even fit in either one of those rooms. So each of those rooms has the same thing, full size bed with a frame with the 3-drawer organizer, the power strip, and the lamp. And each of those rooms looks almost identical. So that's why it's just one picture. And so that's the tour of the house. And I must say it's worked out. What I do is when people move out, I give them a checklist, and as long as whatever was originally in the room, which as you can tell is not a whole lot, as long as that's there, then, there's no deductions. If anything's missing, I just updated my move out list to say that they will be charged at market rate, because of course, the prices change. So if something, for instance, the 3-drawer thing is missing, or the lamp is missing, or the bed frame or mattress is missing, then they would be responsible for paying that. I would first deduct it from the security deposit, and then, if it was more than what the security deposit was, then they would have to, they would owe me. So that's the house. You see, it's very simply decorated. My minimalism shining bright in the space. But I think the layout has worked for the people. Sadly, the digital locks on the bedroom doors, like I said, they kind of are very temperamental. So I ended up having to give the tenants the key. And I have included, now a key reprinting fee. I think it's like $25. Because of course, if I have to reprint the key, then I have to pay somebody to then go over and give it to the person. And, so hopefully it'll encourage the tenants, don't lose the key. And when you move out, just leave the key in the room. So you've lasted this long. Thank you. So let me give you 2 story times. Because I think sometimes when people talk about real estate, they make it seem like, oh, it's just so easy. You just get a house, you put some people in it, and it works out. It is not. It is a complete roller coaster. And when I say it's a roller coaster, it is truly a roller coaster, because sometimes it's very calm. And I mean, it could be calm for months. It could even be calm for years. And then all of a sudden it's just like, oh my goodness, things start happening and you kind of have to be ready. So what has happened now is my original group of people who were in the house, I think their personalities gelled a little better. So this current round of people, it's very clear that, there's some personality conflicts. And what happened, and I actually had to intervene because there's a no pet policy. And one of the tenants decided to buy a cat bed and put it on the front porch, along with some cat food and water. So needless to say, cats came a running. And one of the other tenants sent me a picture and was like, hey, we need your help. I was like, no worries. I reached out to the tenant. Sadly, she lied and said it wasn't hers. But, you just got to deal with stuff like that. So I called her. She did not answer. So I sent a text, and she told me it wasn't hers. And I told her, no worries. I'll just have someone come over and throw it away, and let her know which part of the lease she was in violation of, because it's a no pet policy. And she told me she would get rid of it. I said, okay. So I assume it's gone because the other tenants have not said, hey, the cat bed is back. And then because of that conflict, there was some conflict with some garbage cans or something. One of them was like, hey, I think we need our own garbage cans, which is totally okay. I'm kind of learning as I go. This is my first time doing rent by the room. So I just ordered like some trash cans for them to use when they're pulling out the trash, to sit it on the curb for the trash pickup. I also got them a recycling thing. So that together cost, maybe it was like less than $100. So it wasn't that much. But then I got another text, and it was like, hey, what's the policy about overnight guests? And so, I realized, okay, I had been way too, I guess, nice and accommodating with these complaining of adults. So I just, included all three on a text and let them know, hello, my love bug. I let them know that I'm not going to police them and that I need them to get along. And if not, then their lease would not be renewed, and I would just go back to Section 8, because this is definitely more work on a monthly and weekly and daily basis than Section 8, because with Section 8, once you get someone in the house, unless there's a maintenance issue, then you're not hearing from people on a regular. You're also not trying to fill up the house as people move in and out, because they've signed a year lease. You gotta get down, love bug, get down. So again, I would like to keep it rent by the room, but if it becomes too stressful, I would just go back to Section 8, where, technically the profit margins are better anyway. So that's the one story. So the other story literally just happened today. So it was funny because I almost didn't even film the video because I was a little disgusted, but I was like, girl, just go ahead and get on, tell the story. So one of the tenants is having an issue with one of her outlets in her room. There's two of them. One, she was saying she's afraid to use because it didn't have a cover on it. So she wasn't even sure if that one was okay. So she had been using another one. Well, she was saying that the power strip now will not work. Like if she plugs the power strip into the outlet just stops working. So I scheduled, she said she could charge her phone or she could charge the TV, but I guess the power strip was just too much energy. So I got on, I used Angie's List. I love Angie's List. So I found an electrician, and because the house is in what people would consider a ghetto, I always ask when I give the zip code, and I say the name of the neighborhood, and I'm like, hey, do you all service this area? Because that way, it's not a secret that this area is, low income, and, people's comfort level with that area may be different. So I always ask before I book. The people told me, yes, we service that zip code. We do that area. No worries. So then I get a call today from the technician who's telling me the key's not working, he can't get in, yada, yada, yada. And I'm like, oh my goodness. Now, of course, I'm freaking out because I did not test out the individual keys that I had made, but I just assumed they worked. So when he said, it didn't work, I immediately reached out to my guy who changes the locks for me and was like, hey, when you go over to change the locks this weekend, can you check and make sure all those keys work that I got made? Well, rewind back to the guy who's telling me, he couldn't get into the house, yada, yada, yada. And I was like, okay, I'm really sorry about that. And I was like, well, the tenant works really close by. Like, if you want, can you just wait and I can call her? Maybe she can come meet you. And he was like, well, I really can't wait. And I was like, no worries, completely understand. I guess I'll have to reschedule. And he was like, yeah, you can totally reschedule. And I was like, are you all open all next week? He said, yes. So I said, cool. He gave me his name. I called the company, I tell them, hey, I just got off the phone with such and such. I need to reschedule. He wasn't able to get in the house because the key didn't work. And she was like, that's not what's in our notes. And I was like, I just talked to him. What's in your notes? And she was like, well, he said that there were people walking up and down the street and he didn't feel safe. So he didn't even get out the car. And she was like, but I can let you talk to a manager. And I was like, no, that is completely okay. You don't need to let me talk to a manager, because whatever's in your notes, I'm sure is how he felt. I wish he would have just told me that, because, I'm freaking out thinking my keys don't work in the house, and they actually do. So it's really just a life lesson of like, knowing your audience, knowing where you can get people to fix certain things. So I decided, what, since it's not a major electrical issue, I use TaskRabbit a lot, and I found some really reliable people. So I got on TaskRabbit, and as we speak, the person is supposed to go today at like 5 or 6 o'clock to fix the, check the outlets and all that. And it's actually going to end up costing me less money. And, that person also knows the zip code, the address. So I'm assuming that they'll be okay with, the neighborhood it's in. And because I do know the neighborhood can be a little shaky, it's one of those neighborhoods where, if you're familiar with any sort of ghetto, because I literally grew up right down the street. It's one of those places where, in the ghetto, there's like safe streets, okay? Like the whole area isn't horrible, but there's definitely some shaky streets. So luckily, the street that the house is on is fine. But I still am very cognizant of when I schedule things. I do it early in the day. I don't want people out there at night, just because, again, I don't know their comfort level. Also, I don't know, maybe that street gets a little busy and rowdy at night. I don't know. I don't think so though, because most of the people there are kind of older. But again, I was just really disappointed that the guy lied, because like he could have just said, you know what, ma'am, it was a lot of people kind of going up and down the street. I just didn't feel safe. But he made up this whole lie talking about it was all these people in the house, which I know is a complete lie, because there's 3 ladies who live in the house. One's a travel nurse. She's moving out either today or tomorrow. One works from home. The other one is doing a presentation. They're all over 50. So I know that he didn't walk into a house full of people. But it was just a little sad that happened. But again, such is life. But I say that to let you know that if you are contemplating getting into real estate, it's not smooth sailing. Like, it's not. I know the way people try to sell it is like, oh, well, you're not exchanging your time for money, and you don't have to worry about a 9 to 5. But I mean, it is still work, and it is still putting out fires on a regular. And depending on your patience level, your knowledge level, it can be, a little stressful, because, these are fires that you have to put out in real time. And also, when you're dealing with tenants, you're no longer on like a set clock. If something goes wrong at 9 at night, you have to deal with that. If something goes wrong at 7 in the morning on a Sunday, and you wanted that to be your day off, you have to deal with it. So you should keep all that in mind if you're considering real estate. Again, I love it though. And I just feel like, having taught all these years, I'm so used to putting out fires and managing different personalities and kids and parents that it works for me. I don't mind, but I definitely always want to paint a clear picture of, even though I seem very calm, and, even when I tell these little story times, I mean, it could have been stressful. It could be stressful. So just know that there is still a certain level of stress that comes from being a landlord. Even when you're very organized and you have systems, you still have to brace yourself for, the what ifs. So thank you for watching. I will be keeping you posted on my duplex journey and my basement, finishing the basement thing. But I wanted to kind of kick off with showing you some pictures of the rent by the room, so that just in case there's some people out there who are considering it, just know that you can keep it really, really simple. Because, when you're doing rent by the room, it's not Airbnb. Now, if your house is located near a hospital and you know that your target niche is going to be nurses, then yes, you might want to include some more amenities like in the kitchen or in the bedrooms. But overall, you can keep it very, very simple because people will bring, what they feel like they need. And, if you have a place where they can store their stuff, any of their access stuff, I'm sure that would be very helpful too. So thank you for watching. I hope everybody has a wonderful holiday if you do celebrate, any of the November holidays. And until later, be grateful. Bye-bye.